get a little local here. We're going to go to Warwick. Mayor Scott Avedisian is here in the studio with us to talk with us about what's going on with the teachers in Warwick. Mayor, come around the corner. Thanks for coming in. You've been here before. Yes. You know the mark, you know the camera. You were with the superintendent for quite some time today.
We were on the phone. I was with the mediator, the state-appointed mediator, Vin Regasta, on the phone early this morning. Spoke with the superintendent several times. Talked with the, a number of different entities, and I think a couple of things come to mind. One, we've seen in the last week some very heated exchanges between members of the school committee and members of the teachers union, and I understand that people are frustrated. People are feeling this process has gone on for a long time. Problem is, as that war of words escalates, it's harder and harder to get them to come back to the table. Mm-hmm. And so I sent a letter to the parties today saying, I understand the frustration. We have mediation next Wednesday night. I really want it to be a productive meeting. I don't want it to be to denigrate down into, well, you said this and you said this. So come in with open minds, mm-hmm. And hopefully they will. But I'm also concerned, Kate, about a couple of other things. So we have mediation that's been ongoing for just about a little over a year that I've been part of. Actually, it's a little under a year. But they have been at this for 2 years, trying to reach agreement. At the same time, they also have agreed to go through an arbitration process. The arbitrator should make a ruling fairly soon. Okay. We're being told within a couple of weeks. So I fully expect, after having looked at some of the leanings that the arbitrator has sent to everybody, that there'll be a couple of things that will be decided. So issues that will be binding are ones that are non-monetary. So it could be language changes or conditions or whatever. That's okay. If they're binding, both parties are going to have to accept that. There are going to be a whole bunch of non-binding rulings that are going to require more mediation and more discussion and negotiation. So my goal today is to try to get us to take the next week and have everyone calm down a little bit, cool down, approach mediation next Wednesday with an open mind, and then be ready for the sessions we're going to have to bring together those non-binding resolutions to get us to where we need to be.
How much of your time is this taking up right now?
Well, in actual mediation, we usually sit for between 4 and 5 hours at a clip. Okay. That hasn't happened in a while. Mm-hmm. But in the last week, it certainly has taken a lot of time trying to get everyone back together. I'm looking forward to next Wednesday when we can have some real discussions about where we need to be and how we can resolve things. I'm not confident that we're going to make a lot of progress at that, because I think we're going to have to take a little bit of a step back and let people have their say on some things that have gone on. And then we're going to get an arbitration ruling, and we're going to have to implement at least portions of that. And the only way we're going to implement that is by getting everyone be willing to sit at the table and talk to one another.
And how do you see this as being possible with we're seeing sick outs at the schools? Do we expect more sick outs?
I can't answer that because we kind of had advance warning to last week's because enough of the faculty let people know what was happening. There was some rumbling, but not real good intelligence on today's issue. So I can't tell you that won't happen tomorrow. Okay. But I know that this issue and a resolution to this issue is bigger than all of the individuals. And for the future of public education, my role is to make sure that they all sit at that table. Mm-hmm. And and of course I'm there as a guest. Yep. Because I have no legal right to be there. I'm there because both sides have allowed me to be there with the mediator. I guess one party could say we don't want you here anymore. I don't think they would, but I'm trying to stay focused on my overall goal is to make sure that I get them back to the table, and that regardless of what happens elsewhere, that they're committed to that process. Otherwise, we're not going to make any progress.
So you talked about there is going to be some binding arbitration. There's also going to be some non-binding arbitration.
Correct.
There is mediation next week.
Right.
How do you see this being resolved, and what's the time frame? I mean, how could this continue to go on even with the mediation next week?
It could. So I'm not going to say that next Wednesday we're going to resolve it. However, I wish we would, because a homegrown answer is always better than someone from the outside coming in and say, you will do this and you will do this and you will do this. That also adds to the anxiety and the distrust. But that being said, the things that are binding, I think they're going to, those will be adopted. The ones that aren't, getting them at least the ability to come back to that table to say, okay, on this issue, this is a monetary issue, so now we have to negotiate it. I need to make sure that I keep people with open minds, at least open enough to come back to do that. Otherwise, there's no point of even trying to have these discussions.
So let's talk about those numbers and that we've seen put out there. Again, 16% raise is what the teachers are looking for, and they were offered 11.5. Where are we with those numbers?
The mediator has basically, he is the person who speaks to actual issues in the contract or in the negotiation portion. So I'm going to try to not answer that fully. I will just tell you that both sides have made proposals and counter proposals. There have been several times that we have been very, very close to a resolution. Unfortunately, since being that close, we've had some downward spirals where there's been some things said in the media that haven't been helpful. And so I hope that we, in the next 6 days, everyone calm down a little bit, come back to the table and say, our overall goal is to put the public educational system in the city of Warwick back on track, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail.
I think I asked you in the green room, not the most contentious labor issue you've dealt with?
No, I mean, I think every contract negotiation has its own flavor. I understand the frustration that people feel. You have people who are looking to retire. You have people looking to make major life changes and make major life decisions who haven't because there has been no contract. Mm-hmm. So I get the fact that people are frustrated. People have been working and going to work and not seeing raises, and I get that. But I just hope that the bigger and higher value for community of having everyone together, working together, comes through.
Teacher's contract is just one of the many things on your plate right now in Warwick. Let's tack to a few others. The airport, a couple big weeks for the airport, the runway extension, the Patriots plane, the partnership with Quonset. Yeah. What's next? Well,
we continue to negotiate with other partners to look for other business opportunities. So for the city, you broke the story on how the GAM Theater is relocating to that area. That's a real positive for us, taking over the old Ocean State Theater space. The Hyatt Place Hotel, you need to check out the construction. It's going really well, and we're moving right along. We expect to have 2 more announcements in the near future of other major developments going on there. So City Center Warwick is really coming together, and a lot of that is we have the international flights, and as you know, I was in Ireland, and we met with a number of companies over there looking to do import-export business, and working now with Dean Warehousing on Jefferson Boulevard, and soon their tenant proclamation ale, which will be a great addition as well. But working with Dean to say, okay, let's make it a foreign trade zone, mm-hmm. so we can take advantage of the tax incentives from the federal government, mm-hmm. so that we can do import-export. They have 1 million square feet of warehouse space. Working on agreements for a number of companies to come use that space. Really positive stuff going on with the West Ireland Trade Center, and good partnerships there. So yeah, lately there's been a lot of good news coming out of there. And the Pinnacle announcement today was really important. Mm-hmm. And who knows, that could be a precursor to bigger and better other things associated with Pinnacle. Absolutely.
We'll just kind of leave it at that.
Absolutely.
You flew to Ireland. I've done the direct flights. How much of a game changer is this, again, to just be able to go to Green, not go up to Logan, but as people really, not just leisure travel, but business travel for that business person who just wants to hop on a plane and have a direct flight?
So when we were in Ireland, the whole board of Knock Airport met with us to say, help us get direct flights on a seasonal basis to Green, because we know that people will go.
Mm-hmm.
Not only, I mean, the tourism travel portion is important as well, but it's the business community in West Ireland saying, we are looking for partners. And with Brexit happening,
yes,
they're looking and saying, okay, so we're no longer going to be, looking at 60% of our product going to Great Britain. Now we need to be looking at other markets.
Yes.
And this opens up great opportunities for us, and especially with Dean right there, 2 blocks from the airport with great warehouse space, more hotels coming in. Each announcement adds just that little bit more to the mix to allow us to really flourish and move forward.
We were in Dublin. It is booming. Again, a lot of folks, pointing to Brexit for being that. So looking to get potentially knock to get over here, huh?
Right.
And with the airport, with the runway extension, what opportunities are there?
Well, first and foremost, the runway extension being complete means for the first time in 30 years, the people of Warwick don't have to worry about what neighborhood is next. So now all of that is done. You don't have to worry that they're going to take your house next year. So there's some stability and some of the ability to plan. And now we're looking at adjacent land uses and redeveloping a lot of that property to other use that when the airport didn't know whether they were going to need certain places. Obviously, you weren't going to go in and put a lot of money into a property and redevelop it. So we're working with the airport now to rezone and redevelop Airport Road, Post Road, and parts of Main Avenue.
How much property are we talking that is going to be available?
You're talking probably 25 acres, and it's prime real estate. We have about 100 acres in City Center Warwick that's available, and that has been pre-permitted and ready to go, and now we're just looking for the tenants to come in.
So that's Warwick-centric. We're here, it's the fall, we're not back in the assembly quite yet, but a political issue that we keep looking at. What's going on with the Paw Sox? All the hearings taking place. Do you think it should be decided at the GA, or do you think it should go to the voters?
I don't think there's a mechanism to get it to the voters yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if it was an up or down vote, it would really be important as to how it was phrased in order to not lead people in one way or the other. I'm impressed that both branches of the legislature are having hearings all over the state. I think they've learned lessons from previous issues that didn't go so well, that they want to make sure that they're hearing. I think Mayor Grebian's put together a very good proposal and has worked hard to showcase what it will mean to his city. There's always the friendly banter between mayors, and I called them and said, well, now that I got the game theater, now I'm going to go after the Paw Sox.
There's people on social media, I see War Sox all the time. Did you coin that phrase?
No, it was last year when we put in a letter to say, hey, if you're moving out of Pawtucket, we have some property we would like to show you. And I think actually it was another media outlet that said, will it be the War Sox?
Okay, so
right.
you're not laying claim to the War Sox.
No.
What do you hear from constituents on it? You're talking sort of the political level, but what do you hear from the average Warwick resident?
Last year, when it was the Providence proposal and it seemed to be a done deal, I heard a lot of complaints. This year, I'm hearing more. We need to work to find a way to keep them in Rhode Island.
You think so?
Well, that's what I'm hearing from
That's
people.
what you're hearing from people. Yes.
Very different attitude, and I don't know if it's because in the last year we've had a lot of really good announcements, and maybe we're showing people that we actually can make things happen. International flights, it was a big issue, and being able to say, okay, people, this is done now, and Appenod's almost complete, and so you have all these projects where we've been over the years. Start a project, it doesn't quite turn out the way it was promised, and it's over budget or it's way over schedule. Maybe we're showing people that we actually can get things done on a timely basis. And
your final thoughts on the Appenod circulator?
We'll be done in about 3 weeks, and I think once it's all done and you can move in every direction, people are going to love it.
Do you think that, again, those final sort of growing pains of getting to where it's supposed to be and people getting used to it, is it just that sort of familiarity aspect?
Well, I mean, one, Rhode Islanders don't do well with 2 words, merge and yield. And I think it's going to be a learning campaign, but it's getting better each day. And I hear from people that they have now figured out the traffic patterns. I will tell you, Kate, it's a little odd. When you couldn't go in certain directions for so long, I now have
To be
people
going the other way.
call me and say, "Oh, there's an ugly building over there. We need to work on that. You need to get them to paint that facade, or you need to cut these trees down over here." And I think the more people get to understand that it really does cut down on the congestion, that they're going to like it.
So there's no truth to the rumor that there'll be a demolition derby to officially kick off the
No.
completion?
Absolutely not. But if there is, I'll make sure that you're there to cover.
But you are going to do an official event?
DOT will put together an official event.
Very good. Anything else we can expect from Warwick for the remainder of 2017? You've got a couple big announcements.
Yeah, we do.
Consider come back to go local and let folks
Absolutely.
know right here.
I would love
Okay.
to.
I
Okay.
appreciate it.
All right.
Mayor, I know, as you said, it's been a busy day, so thank you for coming
All
in,
right.
talking about the
Thanks,
teacher
Kate.
issue. We will talk soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
you
you.
so much. Okay. Mayor Scott Avedisian wanted him here in the studio with us to talk to you, the viewers, about what's taking place in Warwick with the teacher issue, the sick outs. Again, talked about what's coming down with arbitration, next week mediation, and his role, as he said, is just an invited guest to the process. But of course, hearing from clearly Warwick residents about what's taking place on both sides of the issue. Hopefully we'll continue to follow that and see a resolution on that soon. So appreciate the mayor coming all the way in from Warwick here to the Navigant Credit Union broadcast